It's 6 p.m. We'll call our meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We please have roll call.
Mrs. Medina? Here. Mrs. Royal? Here. Mr. Franks?
Here.
Mrs. Hett? Here. Mr. Davis? Here. Mrs. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Bembo?
Here. Thank you, Maureen. Next, we'll move on to the student representatives report. Drake, what do you have for us?
Well, school just started, so clubs and teams are getting ready. We're still, as you know, we just switched to a new trimester schedule. We're still trying to get used to it. There's been mixed reviews, so hopefully soon we'll adjust to it. Homecoming is next week, which means the homecoming football game will be Friday. And also, we're having our Spirit Week, and we're trying to center it around our theme this year, which is Galaxy. So we'll be having like Black Hole Day and teams that are out of this world. The Powder Buff game, which is the boys volleyball, is Monday from 5 to 8, and the Powder Puff game is Wednesday from 4 to 7. And DECA will also be there selling stuff in order to raise money. Student Council is getting ready to set up for the homecoming dance, which is on Saturday. And the Coronation Assembly is at 1:50 on Friday afternoon, so if anybody wants to go, they'll crown the king and queen there. And it'll also be presented at the halftime game at the football. Girls swim team recently had a swim in Appleton, and they got 3rd out of 12, so that was really good. Girls tennis is preparing for their 2 toughest teams this week, which is Spash and Marshfield. DECA is selling Raider cards, if anybody needs any, just talk to DECA. And girls volleyball is preparing for their tournament in Spash this Saturday.
Excellent. Thank you. Sounds like life at Lincoln is busy. Okay, next we'll move on to the minutes.
Okay, I would make a motion that we approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of August 10th and the special Board of Education meeting open and closed session meeting minutes of August 10th.
Second.
Okay, motion is second to approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of August 10th, 2015, as well as the special Board of Education meeting open and closed session minutes from August 10th, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next, we'll move on to comments from citizens and delegations. I would just like to read this before we begin. Persons who wish to address the Board of Education may make a statement pertaining to a specific agenda item and may be recognized by the board president to speak regarding issues which are not on the agenda. However, the board will not take action on items not listed on the agenda. Comments made by the public shall be civil in content and tone. Speakers bear the personal risk if comments made are defamatory, slanderous, or otherwise harmful to another individual. Please keep in mind that this is a meeting of the Board of Education open to the public, not a public hearing. With that being said, we have one public comment tonight. Ma'am Leela, take a step forward, please.
Hi.
Welcome.
This is on, which works for me. Well, I'm here tonight to address, enlighten you guys about injustice that took place this spring involving our daughter. My daughter was a student at Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools and named the National Merit Finalist in February of 2015, a competition which she was solicited for in 2012 when she was a sophomore due to her academic performance and her WKCE scores. The status entitled our daughter to a full ride to many colleges along with other monies offered by businesses and private sectors. She had chosen University of Alabama, who awarded her 5 years tuition, room board, a stipend along with money to study abroad. Pretty exciting news, correct? One would think. However, Mr. Rasmussen, the principal at LHS, upon receiving her certificate and a letter congratulating the school, felt otherwise. With a certificate lying in his office, he took it upon himself to write a letter to National Merit damning our daughter as to cleanse his conscience. When Merit received his email, they immediately rescinded her status, thus removing over $50,000 from our daughter, not to mention the humility and embarrassment she went through. Why would you do this, you ask? That's something we just cannot come to acceptance of or understand. Which is why I'd like to take you back to when this began in the fall of 2014. To be a National Merit contestant, in case you aren't aware, you need to write papers, have letter of recommendations, take a battery of standardized tests, and be endorsed by your school. Back in October, Mr. Rasmussen was given the opportunity to either endorse her as a finalist candidacy or not. Obviously, he endorsed her, which was the second time, as he had to endorse her earlier in the year too. later to state that he had a contingency that went along with it. He was concerned of an AP chemistry grade. But that's neither here or there. The fact is, Mr. Rasmussen endorsed her, and that should have been the end of his involvement. The University of Alabama was aware of this course and approved her to drop the class in order to pursue a course that might better fit around her academics. You heard correctly. The school that was giving our daughter her scholarship was fine with what was taking place academically and would not affect her admission or her scholarship. National Merit, too, was aware of our daughter's academics and achievements as they reviewed candidates. The only one who had a problem with it was Mr. Rasmussen, who had nothing to lose or gain. By the time she was awarded finalist status, her grades had improved, yet Mr. Rasmussen felt the need to write this letter without consulting his supervisor, Ms. Dickman, or the school board. Had he done either of these, I believe this letter would not have been drafted, since Ms. Dickman later stated that she would like to talk to National Merit about taking the whole student into consideration, and not just one grade, which isn't that what should have been done in the first place. I just can't imagine sitting with an academic award on my desk and making a decision to write a letter to have it taken away along with scholarship money, which Mr. Rasmussen was fully aware of. Aren't principals supposed to be proud of their students? National Merit offered him an option to rectify this injustice. The grade needed to improve and a letter of endorsement written, which at first he was willing to do. Then Mrs. Dickman stepped in and put an end to it without being well informed of the events and the incident. She did not even know the academic record our daughter had until her transcripts were shown to her at a meeting. She took 10 honors AP courses. Her WKCE scores are off the charts. She didn't take the easy path as so many seniors do their last semesters. She graduated having taken 8 AP test scores, earning 5 on 4 of them, 4 on 3 of them, and 3 on the other, which identified her as an AP scholar with distinction. It's students like ours that help districts win academic recognition. Shouldn't the school do the same for them as the AP honor roll you guys are in? To us, it was simple, as the grade needed to be improved, and Mr. Rasmussen, or anyone for that matter from the school, would need to submit a letter of endorsement on her behalf. We offered to have her take a course at Midstate, online, independent study, redo labs, whatever it would take to satisfy Mr. Rasmussen and Ms. Dickman. Before the semester ended, she did attempt to raise the grade, asking for an extension, which Mr. Ansel only gave her 72 hours, which turned out to be a complete joke, as he gave her all Fs on all the work she turned in, some not even getting a grade, and the most peculiar thing was that almost all of them had the same percentage assigned to them. While pleading with him to what was at stake, Mr. Ansel replied with, "It's not that big of a deal." Well, apparently your district pays extremely well because the money we lost was a big deal, as was her pride. Mrs. Dickman was adamant that she was not going to change the grade and she would contact National Merit, as stated earlier, having them reconsider taking the whole student into account. After Ms. Dickman was done, so was National Merit. They were fed up with the Wisconsin Rapids School District and said the case was closed. Not satisfied, as no parent would be, we went to the school board president, John Cranes, who really didn't want to hear any of it and stated that Mrs. Dickman had contacted him and he was aware of the situation. And to quote, "It was a slippery slope we don't want to go down." Not sure who we was, but you don't want to go down it. I said, "What?" That's the support our school board gives its students and families. Not sure where to go next, as his answer was appalling. We sought legal advice. And were given several options we could potentially pursue. One being interference with a contract, as the money involved was neither from National Merit or the school district. Mr. Rasmussen's actions could be deemed malicious and causing financial loss due to his action. After much pondering, crying, anger, and amongst other emotions, we determined that causing hardship to a school district when budgets are tight seemed wrong. I would be lying if I didn't say we looked at our family's reputation and the community's perception of us. However, it was quite surprising how much the community is behind us and empathy we do receive when we share our story and the mistreatment of our daughter. Beyond Mr. Rasmussen on endorsing her, there are many other issues that did not sit well with us during this whole process. What we found upsetting was that Mr. Rasmussen almost immediately was notified that National Merit had rescinded her final status, yet he did not tell our daughter for over 3 weeks. And how he chose to do this is astonishing. Mr. Rasmussen had our daughter called down to his office during her 4th hour AP Euro class. He blindsided her with this information. I cannot imagine the feelings that rushed through my daughter's head. All she wanted to do was leave and the school would not allow it. She called me at work in hysterics and begged to be picked up, stating that the school will not let her leave. I advised her to just walk out, which she did, and they gave her an unexcused absence for her, even when I called. The other problem I had was the treatment I received from Mrs. Dickman. who asked me what I had done to help my daughter in this class and how involved was I. When in fact, that should have been the question you've been asking your AP chemistry teacher and holding him accountable. I asked you, does a teacher who has 7 AP students in a class allow them to flounder so badly? To my knowledge, 2 of the 7 failed the class. This is disturbing to me, as it should be to you, not only as school board members, but parents. A class that should not have run due to low enrollment, which is why she or no other student were allowed to drop AP Chem. Apparently, parent involvement is based on Skyward login, as she stated. I see you only logged into Skyward once, and I assume that was to complete the online verification, unless you had your student log in and look over her shoulder. Well, Mrs. Dickman, along with not knowing anything about us or our daughter's academics, I would like to enlighten you about your technology the district has. They have this email notification system that helps me keep track of my student by sending me emails when their grades drop below a certain percentage, which I found quite useful, and it made it a lot easier than stalking my child. We also had extreme difficulty in getting in touch with Mr. Rasmussen and Mrs. Dickman. My husband finally paid Ms. Dickman a surprise visit to her office while he was waiting for her to return one of his phone calls. I could continue on and on about all the wrongful things the district did, but I am on a time limit. There is no word that we have found able to truly capture the injustice that has taken place and our feelings towards all involved. All I do know is that every time I send a payment to the University of Alabama, I get furious. I don't want to just focus on the money, even though that is a big part of our anger, but just the whole deal is a huge injustice and plain wrong on behalf of all parties involved. Our whole family struggles with this, and it is something we'll never forget or forgive, especially my daughter. Due to Mr. Rasmussen's action and the lack of assistance from Ms. Dickman and the school board, we have removed our youngest daughter from the district and share our negative opinions and disdain with other families, especially those in Point and surrounding communities are contemplating open enrollment. I'm going to be submitting a letter to the paper on our behalf, and I just wanted you to be aware of it so you're informed when it does.
Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. John, could you give the business service committee?
Yes, Business Services met on September 8th, 2015. The meeting started at 6 o'clock. It was held and chaired for Larry, who took my place. There was no public comment. Out of that meeting, we had 4 consent agenda items. Is there any one that anybody wanted held out? Okay. First item was 66.03.01 inter-district agreement with 4 different school districts, I believe, 4 or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had 5 students coming in and 1 student going out. The committee recommends, and I move recommendation for the approval of the 66.03.01 agreements.
You want a second on that, John?
You want to do them all together, or?
We can do them all together, I guess. The second one is the disallowance and notice of claim of injury, which is a complete waste of our time because it didn't happen in our district, didn't happen with our buses, and how we even got named is almost criminal in the fact that I would think that lawyers and people that bring these places, they should be held to be responsible for the court costs that everybody has to go through if they aren't, if they're deemed ridiculous as this one is. The third item is a circulating pump replacement at Lincoln High School. I know we've had this discussion in previous meetings as far as the pumps and generators of some of the equipment. This replacement pump is for the Lincoln High School. We had a bid for the circulating pump, and the school district is buying it from the Dakota Supply Group for $8,276.32, and installation by Aaron and G for $10,515. The reason we are buying it is so that we can not have to pay sales tax on the item. And I did notice that that is up in the legislature right now to allow contractors to purchase equipment without sales tax so that the school districts don't have to do this. So I don't know where that is, if Mary might be addressing that. And
It's not there yet.
no? Okay. And then the last item is a motion was made by Katie and seconded by Larry that we replace the backup generator here at East Junior High at a cost of $41,950. Were the corrections made at the meeting? Or the,
Yes.
okay. The original was that econ, or current technology was $52,000 and econ was $41,950. So that was corrected at the meeting. So with that, the committee recommends and I move to approve BS 1 through BS 4.
Rink, do you please have a roll call? There was a motion and a second to approve BS 1 through 4.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Bembo?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Mrs. Royal?
Yes.
And then the balance of our meeting, we had an update on, excuse me, the first things were obviously we're for the virtual schools and then again, roofing bills for the never-ending hail information damage that we have. The July 2014 hailstorm hit 6 school buildings. The roof at Woodside was the worst. The remaining roofs in the 5 other school buildings were scheduled to repair during the summer of 2016. The estimated total damage was $4,447,000, which all but $100,000 deductible is covered by our insurance provider. And then the last item was an update from Ed about the cost of snow removal to the district and utility usage. With that, I recommend the balance of the meeting minutes be approved.
Second.
A motion is second to approve the Business Service Committee meeting minutes of September 8, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Might add, John, that, and board members, that the insurance company was not going to give us hardly anything until one of our advisors.
Sound like a number of consultants have been walking in quite frequently and found the real damage. So it's being persistent. Okay, thanks, John. Next, we'll move on to the Personnel Services. Sandy?
Personnel Services met last Monday, September 8th at 6 o'clock. There was no public comment. Out of that meeting, we have 5 consent agenda items, and they are as follows. The committee recommends and I move to approve the 3 professional staff resignations. And just for clarification, all damages have been paid by those 3. Secondly, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 5 support staff resignations. Third, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 4 professional staff appointments. Fourth, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 10 support staff appointments. And the 5th one is, this has to do with substitute teacher compensation. We talked a little bit about it last month. The committee recommends and I move to change the substitute teacher compensation model as follows. Effective with this school year, 2015-16, the current 2-tiered daily rate substitute pay system will be eliminated and it will be replaced with a single daily substitute rate of $106 per day. A new one-time per-year bonus compensation system will be implemented and will be payable at the end of each school year in June. And this is because we have a hard time finding subs on Monday and Friday. And that compensation system is as follows. If a substitute teacher works 20 Fridays or 20 Mondays in a school year, the following bonus payment will apply. A bonus will consist of an amount of $15 extra for each Friday worked by a substitute teacher when 20 or more Fridays have been worked during the school year, ending at the time of the bonus payment. And the same system will apply for 20 Mondays. The bonus will also consist of an amount of $15 for each Monday worked by a substitute teacher when 20 or more Mondays have been worked during the school year, ending at the time of the bonus payment. We had talked a little bit about increasing the daily rate, but when it was compared to other schools around us, we are still slightly higher than anyone else, so at this time there was no change in the daily rate. So does anyone want anything held out?
Is that retroactive? To the
What?
beginning of the year, retroactive?
Yes.
Oh,
Well, yeah, beginning of the school year.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion is second to approve PS 1 through 5. Can we have roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Mrs. Moreno?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Crane?
Yes. Thank you, Marie.
And then I move to approve the special open and closed session Personnel Services Committee meetings of August 11, 2015.
I'll second that.
A motion is second to approve the special personnel service meeting, open and closed session meeting minutes of August 11, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I guess then I'll move to approve the September 8 minutes as printed.
I'll second that.
A motion is second to approve the personnel services committee minutes of September 8, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sandy. Next, we'll have educational services. Ann?
Thank you, John. The meeting was called to order at 6:28, and there was no public comment. Our one consent agenda item concerns the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association associate membership. Kathy Stebbins-Hintz, the principal of River Cities High School, explained that they had a student interested in participating in Lincoln High School athletics. As an alternative school, RCHS students may only participate in Lincoln athletics if River Cities becomes an associate member of WIAA. River Cities enrollment of about 90 students will be added to Lincoln's, and River Cities will not be entitled to any voting privileges in WIAA. There is no cost to River Cities for becoming an associate member of WIAA. So with that, the committee recommends and I move to approve River Cities High School applying to become an associate member of, it's an associate member school in WIAA.
Second.
A motion is second to approve the S1. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, then the remainder of the agenda concerned updates. And our first one was on seclusion and restraint, their annual report. Glenn Haupt, Director of Pupil Services, stated that the number of incidents and students involved last year versus the year before has been reduced by about half. Sandra had asked under what circumstances law enforcement is called and how often. Then we went on to discuss the elementary report card. The District Assessment Committee and elementary grade level teachers began revising the 4K to 5th grade report card to reflect standards and assessments set out in the elementary curriculum in May and June. Larry Davis wanted to make sure appropriate language was being used so as not to degrade students. A template of the progress report was shared with the committee. Katie Bilski on Medina mentioned parents have expressed concern to her that by going to a trimester progress report, there will be too much time between reports if there are concerns with progress in certain areas. Kathy stated that not only will parents receive the 3 progress reports, but teachers will continue to host parent-teacher conferences and a portfolio night. Work on the progress report will continue, and the hope is that it will be brought to the CII, the Educational Services Committee, and a full Board of Education for approval in November. We went on to discuss grades 6 through 9 scheduling committee update. And since January of 2015, a group of teachers and administrators from Wisconsin Rapids Area Middle School, also known as RAMS, and East Junior High School have been meeting to discuss moving to a trimester schedule to align with the high school and elementary schools. Kevin Yeski, principal at East Junior High, had town hall meetings, and Tracy Gittner, principal at RAMS, attended department meetings to share and discuss with the staff the proposed schedule. Staff will continue to provide input through the CII subcommittee process and their buildings. A proposal may be presented to the CII and Educational Services Committee in November or December. Then we went on to gifted and talented staffing. The gifted and talented educational services coordinator will be split from a 1.0 FTE into 2 positions for the 2015-16 school year. Tina Wallner will assume elementary Gates responsibilities, and Kelly Bluell will be a 0.5 FTE secondary Gates coordinator. Ms. Wallner previously worked with the Gates program, and Ms. Bluell will also teach 0.5 FTE. Then we discussed the WRPS website updates, and Phil Bickelhub, Director of Technology, shared the new website and highlighted some of the features. He also presented the online verification process. I complimented the clean, professional new look of the website. The Technology Department hopes to roll out the new site by October 1st, 2015. Then we went on to educator effectiveness and professional development. During the 2014-15 school year, teachers were evaluated using the educator effectiveness process, including the Danielson Framework for Teaching. Data on how WRPS teachers scored was shared. Ron Rasmussen, principal of Lincoln High School, and Melanie Kozlowski, educator effectiveness coach, shared how this data will be used at Lincoln to determine professional development initiatives and begin a comprehensive peer coaching program. And the last item was on Student Achievement Guarantee in Education, also known as SAGE, and the Achievement Gap Reduction, AGR. Wisconsin Act 53 prohibits the Department of Public Instruction, the DPI, from renewing 5-year SAGE contracts that expired on June 30th, 2015, or any year thereafter. Beginning with the 2016-17 school year, AGR will replace SAGE for all school districts. WRPS opted to enter AGR beginning with the 2015-16 school year. WRPS already provides tutoring and professional coaching, which are 2 of the strategies that determine AGR eligibility. WRPS will continue to work to maintain class sizes originally required by SAGE. However, under AGR, if a class size increases to 19 or 20, AGR does not require the hiring of an additional teacher. The district will evaluate AGR at the end of the year when reporting to DPI is required. So with that, the committee recommends, and I move that we accept the balance of the consent of the educational services agenda.
Second.
Minutes.
Okay, motion is second to approve the meeting minutes of the Educational Service Committee of September 8, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, minutes are approved. Thank you, Ann. We'll move on to agenda referrals, information requests. Do we have anything this month? Okay, legislative agenda. Mary, do you have anything to share?
I guess, yep, a little bit. Colleen sent us in her update, she did report on 3 of the bills that were also in the WASB one, and the information she gave us came from the School Administrators Alliance, which is the same information that I have in WASB. It was AB 269, which prohibits the local government from providing health care benefits to any employee hired on or after January 1st, 2016 for use upon the employee's retirement unless the cost of the benefit is fully funded in a segregated account. The second one was Senate Bill 217, which relates to allowing a school board member to serve as a volunteer coach or extracurricular activity supervisor. And the third was Senate Bill 244, which would allow the school board president of a common, union high, or unified school district to appoint a person to fill a vacancy on the school board if the remaining school board members failed to fill the vacancy within 60 days. I believe there were public hearings on this September 9th, so we'll find out how those go. Then also also on WASB was which you probably saw in the paper, the DPI selects the new statewide assessment to replace the Badger exam. And it just says Wisconsin is one step closer to implementing its 3rd statewide student assessment in 3 years for students in grades 3 through 8, with the announcement today which was September 10th, that a new test vendor has been selected through a competitive process. Contingent on successful contract negotiations, state students will take the Wisconsin Forward exam in spring 2016. The exam will test students in English, language arts, and mathematics in grades 3 through 8, and science in grades 4, 8, and 10. High school students in grades 9 through 11 will continue to take the ACT assessments. While the new forward test is web-based, it will not be able to adapt the difficulty of test questions to a student's abilities, a feature the Badger exam was supposed to have, but which wasn't implemented because of technical difficulties. The new test will be designed to be a Wisconsin-specific test aligned to Wisconsin academic standards. The recently passed 2015-17 state budget abandoned the Badger exam after it ended up costing the state millions more than expected and didn't work as expected. And last, there was a report on the Youth Workforce Readiness Task Force, which I think I reported on last month, and they had their first meeting. The Assembly Speakers Task Force on Youth Workforce Readiness, chaired by State Representative Bob Culp, who's from Stratford, a Republican, and vice chaired by State Representative Katrina Shanklin from Stevens Point, the Democrat, held its first meeting on Thursday, September 10th at the state capitol. The task force heard invited testimony from the Department of Workforce Development, the Department of Public Instruction, the Wisconsin Technical College System, the Beloit School District, the Wisconsin Board for People with Developmental Disabilities, and Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. The presenters gave overviews of current programs and initiatives aimed at youth employment in their respective organizations. A common theme from the hearing is that great programs are available, but more efforts need to be made to build awareness of this programming. Another common theme is the need for the state to continue to provide resources in this area. And the second hearing is scheduled for this month, September 29th, in Wausau at North Central Technical College.
Can I add a couple? There's two things that are new here. One is there's a speakers task force on urban education that they just started. It's basically they're saying it's a follow-up to the rural task force. There are 5 topics. One is teacher recruitment and retention, mental health, behavior, truancy, technology for virtual online learners, charters and choice, closing the achievement gap, and then early childhood education and alternative schools. Of course, they're all held in the big cities, Madison, Kenosha, Green Bay, Eau Claire, and Milwaukee. And the second one was the bill I just brought up. The Senate unanimously agreed the bill to exempt from sales taxes school building materials purchased by construction contractors was endorsed unanimously by the Senate committee. That was Senate Bill 227. And the Assembly Bill 313 is still waiting for its hearing. It has not yet been scheduled for a public hearing. So that was the bill I was talking about, to where so these contractors don't have to go through and pay sales tax to buy stuff for school districts, where they, in the previous, they had to do that and then either eat it or pass it on. So those are the 2 updates.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
Thank you for your reports. We'll move on to new business. Item A, possible action on employee appointments resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the bills. Can't do that. Move on to bills.
Dan,
Hey,
We won't let that go, Dan. Okay, I would like to make a motion that the receipts be noted and the bills be paid as printed.
second.
a motion and a second that the receipts be noted and bills paid as printed. Can we have roll call, please, Marie?
Mr. Cranks?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina? Yes. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Gumbo?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Marie? Now we'll move into new business. Item A, possible action on employee appointments, resignations, and retirement requests. Nothing this month, okay. Item B, possible action to approve a tentative agreement reached with the custodial and maintenance, Ask Me Local 1075 bargaining.
We did hold a negotiation session with the custodial maintenance ASME group, Local 1075, and we did come to a tentative agreement of a CPI increase, which is currently 1.62%. So we do have that agreement brought forward to the full board for approval.
I would move that we approve that CPI increase of 1.62 to that custodial maintenance union.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second to approve the CPI increase of 1.62% to the custodial and maintenance Ask Me Local 1075 bargaining unit. We have roll call, please, Marie?
Mr. Cranks?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayle?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Bumble?
Yes.
And last, possible action to approve of a wage increase effective July 1, 2015 for food service.
Our food service employees are no longer organized as a union, so there have not been organized discussions with that group regarding a potential increase. We did, Julie Marie and Elizabeth Severson, our new food service director, did have some meetings, some professional development meetings during our welcome back activities with that employee group. So I did go to that group and talk to them a little bit about conversations the administrative team has had, reviewing that group and where the budget situation is at. The administrative team does believe that it would be appropriate to offer a similar pay increase to that group. Again, was not an organized session, but I just went to meet with them and explain that we had anticipated in September, as we have on the agenda here, the administration recommending to the board an approval of a pay increase for the food service group, those employees that prepare and serve meals to our kids in schools, pay increase of 1.62% as well.
I would make a motion to approve the wage increase effective July 1st, 2015 of 1.62%, which is the CPI for food service employees.
Second.
Okay, motion is second to approve a 1.62% wage increase effective July 1st, 2015 for the food service employee group. Can we have roll call on that, please?
Mrs. Rayo?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Bumble?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Cranes?
Yes. Thank you, Maureen. And that's all we have under new business. Take a look at our calendar. We need to set a meeting for September 28th at 6 p.m.
I thought that.
Will concern short-term borrowing.
Oh, it's back on now?
Put it back on your calendar.
I just crossed it off today.
You can cross it
September
off.
28th. Know what time?
September 28th
No other day work, that's
At
all.
6 p.m.
Okay.
at 6 p.m.
No, I didn't even.
And Katie, think you'll be back for the Business Service Committee? If not, John and Larry said they will be there on October 5th. I will not be. So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.